Back for his church. The Bible says in Matthew chapter 24 verse 42, watch therefore, for you do not know the hour your Lord is coming. I want you to know, church, that Jesus Christ could come this month, or he might come next week, or he could even come...
Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps commander, Major General Hossein Salami, declares that the elimination of Israel from the world map is an achievable goal, which will be attainable as part of the second step of the Islamic Revolution. The Syrian and Iraqi governments announced the reopening of the Al-Qaim border crossing, a major Mid-East supply route that has been subject to repeated bombardments that were attributed to Israel. Iraqi Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi reveals, with regard to 5 separate mysterious attacks against installations belonging to the Iranian-backed Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq, that some of the investigations carried out by the Iraqi authorities provided important indications that Israel was behind some of these attacks. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps commander, Major General Hossein Salami, declared that the elimination of Israel from the world map is an achievable goal, which will be attainable as part of the second phase of the Islamic Revolution. In opening remarks to a conference of IRGC commanders, General Salami asserted that Israel must be wiped off the world geography, while claiming that this is not an aspiration or a dream, but rather an achievable goal. According to the Revolutionary Guard's top commander, who was quoted by the RGC-affiliated news agency IFP, he argued that contrary to Iran, Israel is an example of a power that appears to possess offensive tools, but is too fragile to withstand a full-scale offensive. In contrast, General Salami insisted that the Islamic Republic possesses both defensive and offensive power that can strike its enemies with any magnitude, intensity, and accuracy over any area. The RGC commander went on to say that Iran's strategy of so-called active resistance, which was devised by Tehran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has prevented the enemies of the Islamic Republic from adopting an effective strategy. It is important to mention that Ayatollah Khamenei declared in remarks he made in December of 2016 that the State of Israel will cease to exist in the next 25 years if the Muslim world would unite behind the Islamic Republic, together with the Palestinians, against what he referred to as the Zionist regime. There was no immediate response from the Israeli Foreign Ministry in Jerusalem to TV7's request for comment. Now to Israel's northern neighbor, where the Syrian government, in cooperation with its Iraqi counterparts, announced the reopening of the Al-Qaim border crossing, a major Mid-East supply route that connects between Syria's town of Al-Bukamal and Iraq's city of Husayba, as part of the latest efforts to normalize relations between Baghdad and Damascus. In a celebratory opening ceremony that was attended by government and military officials from both countries, Iraq's border agency chief Kadhim al-Akabi voiced hope that the move will serve in contribution to the enhancement of bilateral relations in many sectors.
سيساهم هذا المنفذ بعد تشغيله بتطوير العلاقات وتعزيز العلاقات التجارية بين البلدين.
Representing the Syrian government of President Bashar al-Assad, Interior Minister Mohammed Khaled declared the move to reopen the border crossing as a testament to the victory over Daesh, which is the Arabic acronym to the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant.
نعلن اليوم افتتاح معبر البوكمال القائم. يأتي افتتاح هذا المعبر اليوم نتيجة انتصار شعبينا في سوريا والعراق على التنظيمات الإرهابية بمختلف مسمياتها وعلى رأسها تنظيم داعش الإرهابي.
It is important to know that the Al-Qaim border crossing had been under the control of the Islamic State between July of 2014 and November 2017, while the so-called liberation of the area was conducted separately by the Syrian and Iraqi armed forces. Iranian proxy militias that operate on both sides of the border, including the Popular Mobilization Forces and Hezbollah, served as the main ground forces that ultimately prevailed in the recapture of the strategic crossing. Since then, the Islamic Republic of Iran attained significant influence over the area, and according to Western intelligence officials, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards methodically uses Al-Qaim, including another newly established border crossing that was constructed nearby, to transfer substantial amounts of military provisions and scores of Shiite militants from Iraq into Syria. In response to Tehran's operations, the area has been subject to repeated aerial bombardments by unknown aircrafts, including a drone attack that was reported last month, in which, according to local sources, responsibility was attributed to the Israeli Air Force. Now to another related matter, Iraqi Prime Minister Adil Abdul Mahdi revealed with regard to 5 separate mysterious attacks against installations belonging to the Iranian-backed Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq that some of the investigations carried out by Iraqi authorities provided important indications that Israel was behind some of these attacks. In an interview with the Qatari-owned Al Jazeera network, the Iraqi Prime Minister alluded to Baghdad's inclination to adopt the Iranian position of blaming the Jewish state, but insisted that his government still lacked tangible evidence to adopt a conclusive position. It is important to mention that Jerusalem neither confirmed nor denied its alleged involvement. That said, senior Israeli security officials, alongside various reports, provided TV7 with insight, which was carefully divulged by our analyst during our Jerusalem studio broadcast that was aired on August 30th of this year.
What happened, according to various reports, was that it was not the Israeli Defense Forces which undertook the operation in July, because it didn't want to fly over, it didn't want to impinge upon the airspace of friendly Arab countries, and therefore it was another Israeli agency which committed the operation. And this agency coordinated only with its counterpart in Washington, or not too far from Washington.
You can watch the entire program at the video on demand page on our website at tv7israelnews.com. Now to Israel's western neighbor, where thousands of government supporters gathered in Cairo Square in support of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi after calls for protests were made by opposition figures, including leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood, in an apparent effort to oust the Egyptian strongman. The president's supporters attending the rally declared their unwavering support for al-Sisi, declaring him to be a man of the people that protects Egypt's peace and security after years of Islamist-instigated instability.
مع السيسي احنا معاك يا ريس، احنا معاك ضد الاعداء والخونه، مش عايزين نبوسها سوريا وليبيا والعراق. مصر هتفضل امنه، مصر هتفضل امنه ليوم الدين.
Concerns are mounting over possible protests by anti-government figures who have vocally opposed the Egyptian president since he ousted his predecessor, the Muslim Brotherhood leader Mohammed Morsi. It is important to know that since President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi took office, relations between Cairo and the Gaza Strip had deteriorated because of the fact that Hamas is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. In contrast, relations between Egypt and Israel have improved significantly on matters